What I nearly mobile people in playing the Tilly. The Tilly Televa, pretty block over. No, pretty block over Tilly Televa, what I did not go at the night of the late and none what I Pamu at another, the court block it. Here what I Muhalaka, court law will let you with me, political damage, Tamako, the Pamu, the Mulupala live. Sarala little dine, Kito Nia Lucida Hunili to Mopapi with them. Put it to the bar Malamari, Molupalanda. He got power, Dora, or Nijala, Liani. What can I told me the top one better. Top what we need to Jaya Lord. Jaya Lord. No high tall, what I told I look at your look like two back in nanny. Our make it out, make or crowning. Been who had Badawa, Kamupa hardware, or Topan a court janima, Topan a court janima, where Mavada, or two Nivelama, top our my Tupa two would be needed. For a shoe dog, Tupa two would be needed. Bamda Levada, a quarter who had Babam Daleni, our Shinema Talutala. They were Malavada Pata do Mumsarani.
We always said that the Karen people like quiet place or like harmony or something like that, but always we do not want to have a problem with other people. That is normally in Karen in Thailand, Karen in Burma or Karen in borderline are the same. So I think mainly they like peace. That is what we said, but always fight to Burmese or SPDC. I don't know, but. Mainly they will like peace. That's why they just move from one place to another. But now no place to move, I think. And then they also like to entertain. If the guests come and visit them, they also will help. And then always I think they will smile. I saw a lot of interviews or like pictures, even those in IDP area. They have to run, they have to walk. But when people interview them, they just smile. Seems that nothing happened with them. But inside, I think something will happen with them.
I want to be your friend a little bit more. I want to be your friend a little bit more. I want to be your friend a little bit more. A little bit, a little bit, a little bit more.
The Karen struggle throughout this time, of course, is to have some kind of autonomy within their own areas. They want to have some control over their own cultures, their language, their education system and their resources. And in more recent decades, that has been translated into a call for a federal state system of some kind. Unfortunately, the Burmese army is not interested in any kind of federalism and has made that clear through the political processes. The Burmese army wants a unitary system.
Yes, when the fighting broke out, it used to be that I think you already know very well that the humanitarian violations, especially in burning homes and destroying, let's say, the properties and food, so that the people, the villagers can stay in the camp, because everyone, especially the Karen people, they want to live peacefully in their village. They do their work peacefully. Even they are poor, are happy But even though they want to stay, they can't sleep anymore, so they have to leave their native villages.
Well, beyond Hetoke, Kalo, Heto Ota, or the Kadiba, Kipuna to Basatihina Puiba, Kipuna Sotihina Puiba, the Kunia Mitabada, Luta Katona, within it. Akuni Takotake, all Peyo, all Powo.
But it was a case of an army of occupation. The people hated the Burmese army coming into their lives, and the Burmese army did not trust them. So the Burmese army had to set about taking control. And since 1996, which was when the border fell, we have documented more than 1 million people displaced from their homes, more than 3,000 villages destroyed.
Some of the fighting places in the village, close to the village. So the villagers have to run away from there and hide in the jungle. If they find the villagers, some they kill them without any reasons. So we cannot stay longer in our village.
Lele kokle ra kholo tramele ko puru atasau kiweba. Bamle tama emana ta ota usikoba. Tenono de powa batamasio. Dini to ye pasiko batamasio, ye patisiko batamasio ko kobebu lirki tikiba. Tai bat itiba le puaglu tiba batamasi mago ako di to puti pa kesesti nyaki puaglu. Ako ni do yesulu tamu to puagtelo.
Control means that the regime does not trust the people at all, and also they will not invest in the people. So control tends to destroy all of the structures of the communities. So as villages are constantly burned down or forcibly relocated, the regime provides no assistance in terms of compensation or rebuilding these communities. So the education system is moved into the jungle. So the education in the Karen state is in a very precarious way. But having said that, so it is in most of the country anyway. The regime simply does not respect education. It sees education in many ways as a threat. And so I'm afraid that is going to be the huge legacy of this period of military rule, that the education system for several generations has been destroyed across the country.
In the beginning, our friends, we didn't get a chance to study, and for example, like when the Burmese Empire or maybe the Moon Empire at the time didn't allow our clan to study our clan language and literature, and so we always be under control by the empire. And after that, when the British colony time, our clan get a chance to study not only high school level up to university and go to the further, but after independence in Burma, they allow only up to 4th standard. After knowing state power, they didn't allow any ethnic language will not teach in the school.
We learn the curriculum of Burmese government, and which there is no, how do we say, there is no chance to learn about Korean subject. For example, when I learn about the history of Burma in the school, it's how do we say, it is not true history, because when I came here, I can read about other history and I can compare. When I compare, they are very different. What I think they don't want Korean people, how do we say, to express their culture.
Now, many of the Korean can't speak Korean because they didn't allow to speak Korean, or they didn't allow to study Korean subject in school.
มีเลสวัสดิ์มีเข้มลีดเดอร์เดี๋ยวผมจะน้องวิคายนี่แค่เล็กสอภาษาบาลีภาษาก็อุดอุขี้กะลาขี้กะยาหนูจีรัสละภาษาแค่เล็กสอก็ขี้กะทุบเลยเบลสิยันเด็กเต็นน้องกินนอดว่าตุลาตุลาเทเสียมาแล้วท้อบุญในภาษาเนี่ยคนนี้นั่นนี่หรอประเดี๋ยวว่าภาษาภาษาเจนี่จะชาติภาษาเจ้าบ้านนู้นเขาเรียกภาษาเนี่ยบ้านนู้นเลยนี่กษัตริย์ยาสุ่มแล้วก็กระโดดพลอดกษัตริย์ยาวก็เปลี่ยนที่ถึงสัตว์นี้ตามมุนดาคุรุบะ
Well, I became involved with the situation in 1984, which was the time when the first major influxes of Karen refugees came across into Thailand. There were only about 10,000 refugees, and they were in very small village-like camps. There were 9 camps. We were told by the Thai government at the time that this would be just for a few months. We were told that the refugees would go home after 3 months when the rains came, and that's how it began. From the very beginning, we realized that the refugees were part of an intact and very sophisticated community structure, and that they were actually quite capable of looking after their own affairs. But whilst they were in Thailand, they just needed the basic support of food and medicine. Not expecting it to go on for very long, we didn't think too much about the future, but we did agree that we should work together. At the time, we felt that it was such a small problem that there was no need for us to compete with each other, to try to divide it up. And so a group of us agreed to form a consortium. And ZOA was on that original trip, and so ZOA was part of the original decision to form a consortium. Of course, the refugees didn't go back. So 23 years on, we have grown from 10,000 refugees to over 150,000 refugees that the consortium has held together.
I think the very sad situation is very much related to the fact that people are living in a closed environment in which they cannot really go out, and especially, of course, the fact that people don't have control over their own development. I mean, they just have to wait until the NGO comes and gives it to them. And yeah, that is a very sad thing. I mean, I think it's a very basic human need, and even maybe a human right, to take control over your own development.
We are refugees, so not free. We don't have any rights for working or doing, because we don't have our country rights. So we have to stay like the bird that we keep in the cage. So like we cannot go anywhere. Just people keep to the cage, and then we have to stay, and then we have no chance to do. Just people came and give us food, and they have to eat. So not good for Korean people.
ZOA works in 7 refugee camps along the border. That's what they call the Karen camps. The most southern camp, Tam Hin, and the most northern camp that we are working in Mesariang area, they are 1,100 kilometers away from each other. So in those 7 camps, there's approximately a total of 120,000 refugees. And that also means, as far as our education program is concerned, 35,000 students in school, around 1,500 teachers, around 68 schools in those 7 camps. A big majority in Mela camp, it's the biggest camp with 48,000 people. The smallest camp, Donyang, 4,000 people, has only 1 school.
In refugee camps, the education better than in Burma, because here we are supported by the educational NGO, and they try to find teacher trainers, and so we get teaching skill here better than in Burma.
We are supporting the education system in quite a broad way. I mean, we are still involved in school construction, provision of school supplies, payment of teacher subsidies, actually the whole area that we call operational services. But we're also very strongly and increasingly involved in curriculum and materials development, teacher training, but not only teacher training in the sense of formal training, but let's say also ongoing support to teachers. And we are building the capacity of education management staff. Plus we are looking at how to involve the community in the education system with a particular focus on parents. How can you make sure that parents are more involved in education? Now these are very specialized type of interventions that you won't really see in other ZOA countries. I think we are the only ZOA organization, local ZOA organization that can call itself a specialist in education and training.
Tramu ta ye puak lu ni mi kwa chi no mo podi pota te pa loto ro ta ku ba ku se do ma ko ye do le puak lu ni ko top pho si ko a kho ye ku klase tu lu da la mi kwa wa ta no na ta mi the to ya ta tu lu da le ba sa ye ye puak lu
le lo ko ta hu si no le ma en du da ko ka si ka ba ta ku bi en du le porque pati kwe ni ma ta ku si le ao phiêu mau là bỏ đi hơn
ta cái đó đi từ là bà khá là ta kia là cầu bằng đi từ yêu qua cái bà có bà khẽ ủ đi mà là cầu bằng
là tôi nằm bấm chân để tôi ra sầu lử và anh mới tôi ra nè mà tập luôn cô ta thì
chụp hồ thì phải này nào tập lo khó tập tôi lo kẹp lo qua mệt thứ này phải mệt ôn nó thoát chỗ này mi kê thì ôi giờ thoát chỗ cơ là gì cơ là loạn này chỉ chỗ thì ôi giờ à con cha ta cái thứ này với thế sao này kẹp vì tơ bồ này nó ba mà đi vào đó cái tu sáu này mà cái internet lên ta mà lô này rồi mà tu kẹp rồi con mà du ô ra này ở đây trên
เอาไว้เส้นผ้าเดี๋ยวเขาเรียกกันเตะเลยที่สองเอาไว้เส้นถ้าคุณจะเกยที่ผ้าเนาะเอาดีถ้าปาไม่ปานนาที่ผ้าเดี๋ยวที่สองอร่อยอยู่ปากเกยไม่เลิกบอกฟ้าดูที่สองเตะยังไงไม่เตะลูกเกยได้แต่ภาษาอ่านเดิมบอกอีเจนเลยบอกเลยภาษาที่ผ้าเดี๋ยวปากเกยไม่ว่าบอกมือเขาปากเกยดูเจ้ามันได้ทุกคนเลยเอาไว้เส้นผ้าเดี๋ยวไม่เกยจะรับมือเดิมไม่ให้สู้ได้เดิมมันปาไม่ปานนาที่สองจะรับมือได้ยังไง
ถ้ากูบอกเป็นเนี่ยไม่กว่าเงาโพเอาไว้อันนี้แล้วอันนี้ข้อที่ขาดแล้วก็ส่งพอเราไปติดตามมันกว่าเงาถ้ากูบอกเป็นเนี่ยเรื่องดูไว้แล้วเอาไว้กว่าเงาตัวกูแล้วกว่าเงาพูดที่ภาคก็คือทบต่อเราไว้เราเมื่อตอนนี้เนี่ยเป็นนั่นแล้วกว่าเงาพูดที่ภาคเนี่ยกูเดี๋ยวที่ก่อนมั้งใช่ช่วงเดือนนั้น
Well, the biggest challenge during the last 20 years is that once they enter the refugee camps, then officially they're not supposed to go out of them. So they're faced with a life entirely within the bounds of a refugee camp.
From a development perspective, a real big problem is the fact that the refugee situation is there for so long already. Some people are born in the camps and are already now like 20 or 22.
And until recently, we as NGOs were only allowed to provide the basics for survival, which means that there were very limited opportunities for refugees to have anything meaningful to do, to earn an income, to be gainfully employed, or even to get any degree of sophisticated education or skills training. So the biggest challenge of all has been one of boredom and also hopelessness, in the sense that how long will this go on?
That's a good question, and it's actually maybe the biggest problem that we're struggling with. I mean, how do you work, for example, on developing sustainable development approaches in a situation that's not meant to be sustainable in the first place? So how do you work on long-term educational development while actually you're focusing on a situation that is at some distant or maybe less distant point in the future and not in this context of the refugee camps? That's a very difficult issue. In any case, there's a realization, I think, on the part of the Thai government that the refugee situation is there to stay, at least for the foreseeable future. And in that sense, I think they took a more constructive or maybe realistic stance. And I think some of the new opportunities that are arising now are a result of that.
Now, the biggest problem in our current education is now facing most of our teachers, many of our teachers now they go to that country.
What we saw in Tham Hin is, for example, that more than 90% of the teachers applied for resettlement and are either left already or in the process of leaving.
And what we're already discovering is that it is the most capable, skilled workers, leaders who are going to be the first to be leaving. And this is presenting us with yet another challenge. We have to look now, how do we replace the skills we're losing?
One of the big problems is also teacher subsidies. The teacher subsidies are low. We would like to pay much more, but that is, there are so many teachers, so it's just very difficult to get that funded. Which brings me to another problem, which is actually some kind of donor fatigue, I would say. Donors, find it hard to fund another phase of the same project while there's no move in the refugee situation. We find it quite difficult to get funding for activities that have been running for many years already. The problem is, of course, those activities are incredibly needed. It's easier for us to get a computer training project funded than to get funding for, let's say, school construction or training of teachers, which we would consider to be much more. I don't say it is more important, but if those basic facilities are not in place, then the whole system will suffer.
The message we're trying to give to donors is this is not easy. This problem is not just going to go away. So we are encouraging donors to be part of the solution, together with the Thai government.
The interesting thing about that is that also ZOA's role is, of course, changing. At the beginning, we were a real service provider in terms of emergency relief services. Then we became much more of a capacity builder, training of teachers, capacity building of education management staff, for example. Now, actually, a third element is added to that, and that is doing advocacy and lobbying with the Thai government or any other organization that is relevant, and that is a very interesting new role that we are playing, I think.
Start from 2005. I think quite a big change, the size of the organization, and also a lot of activities. And then, especially now, in phase 4 project implementation, we talk a lot about quality of education. So that's why we really work hard on the quality of education.
At that time, and actually still, curriculum was a synonym for teaching and learning materials. There already we have our first, what I would call, problem. Because, I mean, we believe that the curriculum is much more than only teaching and learning materials. Curriculum also talks about what are your desired learning outcomes, what are the values, the attitudes, the skills and the knowledge that you want the kids to get out of their education. It also should talk about teaching methodologies and teaching styles. And even it should also talk about assessment mechanisms, for example, which is more than only examinations. That whole complete set I would call a curriculum. Now, in the past, that was for sure not the way we were giving support. We were only helping the KED in organizing curriculum development or materials development workshops. We are trying now, together with UNICEF, to talk with the Thai government to find ways to ensure that the curriculum as it is there in the camps gets accredited by the Thai Ministry of Education, so that actually when they finish their education or a certain cycle of education, that is a recognized certificate, so that they can use that.
ZOA did an education survey in 2005. One of the things that they found out was that a substantial portion of the camp population did not have access to education programs. And most of the education programs on offer were in the high schools, post-10, like what we consider traditional education or formal education. So that, along with the current climate about people resettling, and quite often to the third country whose people speak English, we combined them both and made a program just to broaden the access of education.
Another big program that we already established in 2003 is our vocational training program. So this is a program that's focusing on basic skills development in the areas of carpentry, auto mechanic, cooking and bakery, sewing, weaving, to help people to develop practical skills that can be used either now or at some point in the future, either when they go back to Burma or when they resettle to a third country. We are about to sign a contract with UNHCR to have our first income generation project just outside Mela, where we have rented land where refugees, together with representatives from Thai villages, surrounding Thai villages, where they will be involved in agricultural production. And this will be linked then with our vocational training program. So it will be a combination of skills training, skills development with actual production, and then also support to not only to produce it, but also how you can market and sell your products to the outside world, basically.
I can see that the construction and the renovation of the school buildings have been done so well. You must feel a great sense of achievement. Let us hope that this modest assistance of ours will give the children of the camp a new hope for their future through education. In these buildings, the children will start to learn many things: languages, mathematics, history, as well as moral values and a sense of duty as a citizen in a democratic society. They will be empowered to build the future by their own hands. And then a day will come when it will be their turn to pass on love, compassion, and support which they have been offered by ZOA and other people to the next generation.
I appreciate and welcome your help here, and we're looking forward that you can help them more and our education will go up higher. That will be very great, because education is the, let's say, the wisdom that cannot be lost. When we go back to our land, without education, we can't do anything. So even though we are refugees, we take, let's say, good things from the bad things. Refugees very poor, and this is very bad. But education in this case is very good.
ta phát hiện lô còn tỷ lệ mà chỉ phải ở khứ bên một lứa là phải mấy đô la mà là bên mà là bơi cái đó là hồi này thế làคนนี้กว่าจังนะเดี๋ยวเพชรข้อรอเมื่อหาเมื่อรอประเดี๋ยวยืมบ้านเธอเนี่ยไปตายมาเธอเนี่ยไปสู้เธอเนี่ยไปตายมั้งมือมามือไปตายแล้วเดี๋ยวมือหรือปลาล่าเลยไปทำมาเรามาเอาเล่เล่เล่เล่มดรถที่เฉลิมรอบูมืออกคุยโครู้เลยและมดรถที่เฉลิมรอบูมดรถที่เฉลิมรอบู blo bu che le blo bu mi o qui koru le mi o qui koru một đôi thì chơi lớp lọt ta mu ở khu cột lọt quá rồi lên 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 là một đôi thì chơi lớp lọt taแต่ก็มือแต่ก็ควายเลือบลอตาเชื่อเลือบลอตามือเอโอคุยโคบลอตาและมือเอโอคุยโคบลอตาคุยโคบเลยที่เราแต่พอที่เราดีเลย